So we should be live anytime now. Yes, we are live. Hello and good evening, everyone. I am Nishadh, and I welcome you all to You Matter by Covidav. Those of you who have joined in and are not aware of what Covidav is, we are an online mental health platform where you can book a consultation, audio videos based consultation with a therapist. We have partnered with several of the eminent psychiatrists, psychologists, counselors, and other mental health professionals from various institutions like the Government of Goa, Directorate of Health Services, Psychiatric Society of Goa, Sangat, Antarman, Cooch, and others. We have been running this operation for close to 5 months now, and You Matter is basically our knowledge initiative that we started to enhance the awareness around mental health, particularly during this time. And that's where we invite eminent mental health experts who basically, we just have a discussion with around issues of high importance, especially around these times. Uh, a lot has changed as far as the global economy is concerned. From the time of John Rockefeller, where we had a more of a manufacturing oriented economy, and now we are more in a knowledge economy, if I should say. We have managers and thinkers whose primary skill is, to think. And thanks to all the devices that we have today around us, be it smartphones, be it laptops, our work never leaves us. Um, and in this, we are also kind of blurring the line between work and otherwise. And if I were to put it this way, we are getting entangled in technology. And today, I take this opportunity to welcome our guest, Dr.Anagha Jog Karve, who is a consultant psychiatrist with IPH Pune. Welcome, Dr. Anagha. And
Hi,
we
thank
will
you.
be having a discussion on digital addiction. Over to you, Dr. Anagha.
Yeah. All right. Good evening, everyone. So, internet addiction or digital addiction, as we call it, is not a new phenomenon. It has been around for several years. There has been a lot of research done around it. It is just gaining more importance or momentum in the last few years, and more so in the last few months, I think, specifically these 6 to 8 months. So, during this pandemic or COVID times, as we call it, all of us have become increasingly dependent on technology, whether it is our children who are attending school from home now, online classes, we're working from home, we are buying our essentials, our grocery items from home because we don't want to go out, avoid shopping. We're even connecting with our loved ones through Skype or FaceTime. So the list is endless. There is no denying that the internet has proven to be very useful, especially during this pandemic, for all of us. However, with this increasing use of technology for all our daily and routine activities, the risk of becoming dependent or addicted is proportionately higher because of this. So the terminology of internet addiction is not exactly in any of our classification systems. It comes more out of research papers, but it's certainly becoming a disorder that is gaining more and more importance as time goes by.
Sure. Uh, let's start from the, like we say, start from the beginning. What do you mean by digital or internet addiction?
Yeah. So internet addiction, as I said, it's basically an umbrella term, right? So it's an umbrella term for a variety of behavioral and impulse control disorders, all of which are linked to the internet. So broadly, you can classify it, say, in 5 main subtypes. One would be cybersexual addiction, which is a compulsive use of the internet for cybersex or cyber pornography. Second would be internet gaming disorder. Now, gaming disorder, again, I think everyone is aware of its increasing, it's come to the forefront in these last few years. This, interestingly, is the only one of the internet addiction disorders per se to be included in our diagnostic manuals. So we have certain classification manuals in psychiatry. Internet gaming disorder has been included in one of them as a disorder that requires specific attention by professionals. So it is becoming important even in that sense. Thirdly, we go to compulsive shopping, trading, or gambling online, online social network addiction, is also a factor wherein there is over involvement in online relationships. And lastly, compulsive web surfing for information or for databases. Basically, all of these, as I said, have come from research, right? So it requires a lot more in-depth research into these to classify them as formal disorders. But this is roughly what internet addiction comprises.
Okay, okay. So, given that, how does one distinguish between, say, a normal usage of these digital devices or even internet versus getting addicted or getting, heavily dependent on this?
Right, right. Because I mean, all of us use the internet, right? But not all
Right.
of us are addicted. So most of us, I think, I would like to explain it by comparing it to drug addiction. What happens is that most of us know of the word addiction with respect to drugs or substances of abuse, alcohol, tobacco, cocaine, heroin, etc. So the criteria per se for internet addiction follow similar lines as that of substance addiction or drug addiction. So, for example, one would be a preoccupation with the internet, even when you are offline. That means that even when I'm not online, I'm thinking about, oh, I posted that photo, has someone liked it? Oh, I have an email that I have to answer. There's something in my shopping cart on Amazon. So you're constantly preoccupied with the internet and related activities, even when you are offline. Secondly, if you are forced to be offline for a prolonged period of time, getting certain psychological disturbances like irritability, low mood, anxiety, affecting your sleep disturbances, appetite disturbances, etc., related to being offline. So, in the sense, a kind of withdrawal symptoms, you can call them.
Okay.
Third would be repeated attempts trying to cut back or discontinue internet use, but being unsuccessful doing so. Continuing to use the internet or being online despite having clear psychological or physical problems, either directly as a result of excessive screen exposure or increased by excessive screen exposure. So, despite having issues, I'm still compelled to be online and indulge in whatever activities that I'm engaging in. Another point would be using the internet to escape feelings of anxiety or low mood or boredom. Like I'm using it just to alleviate boredom. I can't think of anything else to do. Uh, Another feature would be losing interest in activities that I was previously interested in. For example, sports, drawing, creative arts, music. So all of that time I'm now spending online that I used to do, and I'm losing interest in indulging in those activities. Finally, all of these warning signs or symptoms, you can call them, are leading to some kind of an impairment or some kind of problems in my professional life, in academics, or in my personal relationships. So significant areas of my life are being affected because of excessive online use. So these would be some of the general criteria or guidelines, you can say, for identifying someone who has dependence versus somebody who is just using it recreationally or even excessively, but not crossing the line into dependence, basically, or addiction, if you want to call it.
Got it. Got it. And what would be, like, in your opinion, or even in your experience, what are like the most harmful, like, consequences of this?
Yeah. So, harmful consequences, I would say that excessive screen exposure can lead to physical as well as psychological consequences. Physical consequences would be in terms of, I think, very obviously problems with eyesight, right, or vision, because you're continuously staring at a screen for so many hours in a day. Second would be all possible aches and pains, headaches, neck pain, back aches, posture, problems with posture. Obesity is another very important finding that has been directly linked to increased screen time, screen exposure, basically. So these would be some of the physical problems. The psychological problems, of course, starting with children, there has been, so increased screen exposure is significantly related to decreased concentration, decreased ability to focus, decreased attention span in children, which is then directly affecting their academic performance. Again, signs, it can lead to anxiety, it can lead to depressive symptoms like low mood, guilt over excessively indulging in online activities. It can lead to social withdrawal, isolation, mood swings, anger outbursts, easy irritability. Interestingly, also difficulty in forming new friendships. So, children and adolescents who certain studies have shown that children and adolescents who are exposed to the screen for a long time, prolonged periods, have decreased empathy, which is needed to be able to form and maintain relationships. So, these are impaired. That's one thing. Second is increased screen time is certainly resulting in strained relations between families, between couples, where they should be spending time with each other, but instead each one is, in front of their own screen, whether it's a smartphone or a laptop. And of course, sleep disturbances are certainly, again, very, very directly related to increased screen exposure.
Okay. So, even in my personal experience, I would say sleep and say digital addiction is like cause and effect. I mean, I don't know what is the cause and what is the effect. So, how does say something like digital addiction affect sleep, or does it really affect
Sleep.
sleep, and in what way?
Yeah, so it does affect sleep. It affects sleep in actually various different ways. I think all of us must have heard of blue light. It is a very common terminology nowadays. So typically, it is a kind of a short wavelength light that is emitted more by phones and the laptop as compared to television. I mean, it also emits, but more by phones and laptops. This blue light, what it does interestingly is that it suppresses melatonin. Now, melatonin is a sleep promoting hormone in our body. So as the day turns to night outside, the release of melatonin is stimulated in the body, which promotes sleepiness. So when you are exposed to this blue light, specifically in the night time, it suppresses the release of melatonin. So indirectly or directly rather, it keeps you wakeful. You are more alert, you are more awake, and hence it delays sleep onset. So that is a direct effect of being exposed to the screen, especially at night. Secondly, would be that it also results in a total decrease in sleep time, again specifically related to nighttime screen exposure. So if you're watching, for example, a sitcom or a movie at night, your bedtime is automatically delayed by those 2 to 3 hours, and so it directly sort of displaces the time that you would have normally spent sleeping. You are now spending it in front of a screen. Also, another point is the content of what you're watching. So, what you are exposed to and what you are watching also matters, specifically in terms of video games, those that are violent or very combative kind, which require focused attention, which leave you stimulated. So, in short, any content that is exciting or thrilling or which leaves you sort of physiologically stimulated, increases your heart rate, these things also directly then have a detrimental effect on sleep. So the I mean, maintaining sleep is also a problem. The onset is also delayed. So basically, it becomes like a vicious cycle. As you said, what comes first and what causes what, right? So it's basically a cycle, because decreased sleep will increase your risk of, say, depression, anxiety, behavioral problems, obesity. Some of these things can lead people to gravitate more towards screens. Again, more screen exposure will lead to less sleep, and the cycle just goes on, actually.
Got it.
So
Got it.
cause and effect both there.
Okay. And in terms of why do some people sort of resort to this? I mean, even in our lives, it's I mean, so far we still consider it normal to check our phones or resort to so-called digital addiction. I mean, anytime, every time. So why do people
Yeah,
really?
yeah.
Uh,
So currently it's become more of a lifestyle for all of us. But for those who are indulging in it excessively, or as I said, dependent on it, or addicted to it, one would be those who have underlying depressive symptoms or anxiety symptoms. They sort of use it as a way to escape from their real life problems. Secondly, would be children with ADHD, which is attention deficit hyperactive disorder. Studies have shown that these children are more prone also to sort of they gravitate more towards the screen. It's more stimulating and it tends to retain their attention. Essentially, but no matter what the disorder, I feel that the basic core underlying factor is an escape mechanism. What they use is that they use the screen to escape from either real or perceived problems in their life. And this is specifically noted now in terms of online gaming. Because what happens, people there can create this ideal self in that virtual world, which need not be anything like their self in the real world. So that is powerful, it's ideal, it has that persona has no restrictions, no limitations, no inferiority, no inadequacies. So specifically people who are more reserved or introverted by nature, they tend to find a lot of relief in the virtual world. I think quite apart from introverts, in if you're talking about the current situation, the pandemic, isolation is increasing, right? Everyone's alone, there's more loneliness. So people tend to compensate for this loneliness in the real world by socializing in the virtual world. And then that's how they get drawn into it. So that's one mechanism. As far as social media is concerned, now the whole core point of social media is making relationships, enhancing networking. So for those people, for example, who have social anxiety, right, who are socially awkward, who find it difficult to communicate in big groups or face-to-face interaction, for them this becomes a very comfortable medium of interacting with someone. They can control their self-image. There is less fear of rejection, of negative feedback. So they also tend to get drawn more towards social media and interacting through social media rather than face-to-face communication. Another vulnerable group are adolescents. I would say between say 14 to 18, 19, 20 years. Adolescents are they are already in that stage of trying to create their identity. They're struggling to form to create their own identity basically. Also in this age group, they are relationships, friends and peer relationships mean more to them than family. So the craving for this relationship again takes them online, where they can form their persona as they want to, they can change it as they want to, and they can be whoever they want to be online.
Okay.
So that's another vulnerable group for that reason. And then of course we all know about the instant approval, instant followers. If I have 50 followers, I have 100 followers. But for vulnerable people, what happens is they get lulled into this false sense of belonging. They feel that, oh, I have 100 friends. They don't realize that that's not really true. It's a little fake. It's a virtual world, but these things, so people who crave that sense of acceptance, that belonging, they may or may not have it in the real world. They are the ones who tend to gravitate more towards the virtual world per se.
Okay. Okay. So I'll give you another instance. So let's say if I feel like, say, tweeting or posting to Instagram, maybe every hour or something of that sort. Would you classify me as, say, a digital addict, for example? I mean, I'm sure many will have this question.
Yeah. No, so
What
that
is the
depends. You see,
threshold?
no, so as I said, it depends on all of those criteria that I mentioned initially. Now, you may feel the need to post every hour, but is it affecting your work performance? Is it affecting your interpersonal relationships? Do you feel that it is it's getting or are you doing this to escape some kind of symptoms that you have? You're feeling low or feeling or if for some reason your phone is say gone for repair, and you can't have it for 2 days or something. He's told you you'll get it back in 2 days. In those 2 days, are you restless? You're like, I have to post. Let me log in through somebody else's phone. Let me do. I have to do it. Without that, I'm not feeling complete. I'm anxious. I'm not able to sleep. I'm not able to concentrate. So if you're having these kind of symptoms, withdrawal again, as I classified them as. Or if as a result of needing to tweet every 1 hour, are you not losing interest in your other activities? Probably maybe you are an avid singer or you're into music, but you've noticed that these days you've let that slide. You don't feel like doing that because you must know what's happening on Twitter. So if these are the things that are happening, then yes, probably you are dependent.
Got it. That answers the question. The next question is basically around how do I control or limit usage of multiple devices and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
technologies.
Yeah. So what happens is now, again, screen time refers to not just the phone, right? It refers to television, to laptops, tablets, iPads, everything. Unfortunately, smartphones, I think, in my personal opinion, are the major source of screen exposure today. And that's because you can just take them everywhere, right? So even if I'm going shopping, my phone is with me. If I'm going to a salon or a spa, my phone is with me. If I'm going to a restaurant for dinner, my phone is with me. So there is increased amount of exposure to smartphones. Also, via a smartphone, you can access everything, right? I can play video games. I can go on Amazon or Netflix. I can shop. I can do online trading. I can, I can watch movies or anything. So that phone basically is sort of providing for all of my online needs, so to speak. So most of these modifications, these behavioral modifications, or these how to control use are largely directed towards smartphone use only because they are more widespread. Actually, the use of smartphones is more widespread in our lives. So what can we do, right, to decrease dependence or to make sure we don't get dependent at least? Few very simple things which you just have to incorporate in your daily routine. Most importantly, turn off all notifications, firstly. What happens is I'm sitting here, I may be working or studying, my phone is pinging there by the side every 10-15 minutes. It's but natural, I'm tempted to see what has happened, right? So turn off all notifications. So that cuts back a major source of distraction. Second would be keep the phone away from where you are studying or working. Now, for those who are working, it may not be feasible because sometimes you need to take calls on the phone. But for students, 100% feasible, right? Keep the phone, if
Right.
possible, in a whole other room. I would say don't even keep it next to you on the table, because if I am reading a book here and my phone is next to me, I'm going to be tempted to look at it. So keep it in a whole other room where you have to get up and walk and go to it to look at what is happening, right? So decrease the access that way. Third, I would suggest is fix 2 or 3 times in a day when you will check your phone. It could be for 20 minutes each or half an hour each, say 2 times a day. You will reply to all your text messages, emails, or whatever you want to upload on social media, or you want to follow people, do all of that in those two restricted times. So the rest of the time, you are free from the distracting influence. Fourth would be make some boundaries. What happens is all of us say, no, I really need to decrease my internet use now. I need to decrease my phone use. But what does that mean? It's a little vague, isn't it? When you say, I want to use it less. So, what are some of the boundaries that we can make? We can say that we will not use any screen at the dining table. So during meals, there will be no screen involved. In bathrooms, there will be no screen involved. We're not taking our phones with us in the bathroom. We're not going to look at a screen when we're having an actual conversation with a person in front of us. Because I'm sure all of us do that. I also do that once in a while. If someone's talking to me and I'd be like, yeah, I'm scrolling, but I'm also talking to you, you know. So
Yeah,
let's
that's
not
right.
do that. Exactly. So these are some of the things which can be very clearly outlined. Like, during meals, no screen. Bathrooms, no screen. While having a conversation, no screen. So during the day, a significant amount of time is when you're definitely without your phone. Even if you consider 3 meals a day, half an hour each, that's already 1.5 hours in the day, right? Which is a good amount if you are dependent. Another thing would be if you feel that you are overly dependent on social media. Like, for example, Nishad, you with your Twitter, right? So what I would suggest is delete the app. Okay, so delete the app from your phone and access it via the browser. Okay, so, so all that can do is create a time lag, at least, between you thinking about it and if you just press the button and I'm there. So delete the apps from your phone, access them via the browser. If it takes you that long to do it, at least 50% of the times you won't do it. So that's another trick that you can use. Another thing is, it could be a little silly, but you can buy an actual alarm clock. All of us use the phone as an alarm, so we keep it next to us, next to our bed, by our bedside. All of us use it instead of a wristwatch. What time is it? Let me look at my phone. Then, oh look, I have some notifications. Oh look, I have an email. Oh look, I have Facebook, or I have some updates that are coming. So to avoid all of that, buy an actual alarm clock, which is what we have done in our childhood, haven't we, Nisha? We had alarm clocks because we didn't have phones, and we did wake up on time as well. So try and limit using the phone for phone related activities, not day to day routine activities, right? So you can just invest in these few items, which can again further decrease your dependence on your smartphone or any screen. Another tip, I mean, I don't know how useful this is, but they say that instead of your thumb touch unlock, or your touch unlock rather, try and keep some long complicated passwords, so that you have to again take that much time to log in every time you want to or you need to. Another thing that I think is important nowadays is a lot of apps and websites are coming up with their own controls, to monitor screen use.
Right.
Like YouTube, I believe, has an option where you can suggest when you want an alarm after you've watched for a particular while. So use that. Anyway, we are dependent on technology for so many things. Why not use their own hacks to help us monitor our use? So on YouTube, if you say that after 1 hour, remind me, you get a pop-up after an hour. So maybe you may be caught up in watching a particular sitcom or something, but if you get the pop-up, you may be, oh yes, I need to switch this off, and it's 1 hour. I didn't realize, but an hour has gone by. Or I think phones nowadays also have this option of locking down some of your apps independently while you're working on something else. So if my working day is from 10 to 5, I can maybe lock my apps like Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, keep only my email on, so that at least if I feel the urge to go there, I will have to independently unlock it, go into it again. Maybe I can buy myself some time to rethink my decision. So these are some of the few things that maybe if we incorporate in our daily life, I think it will significantly decrease screen use and screen exposure. That's what I feel, at least.
Correct. So I think the key takeaway here is to increase the friction between you and your mobile
Ah,
device.
absolutely, absolutely.
I think I'm on the right track. Anyway,
Absolutely.
so I think another we can call it collateral damage is about children, right? Since schools being shut, we have to resort to online classes over Zoom or whatever Teams or any other video platform. And it seems like this is going to be the new normal for quite a while before schools really open and stuff. So, how do you, effectively manage screen time for kids? And plus, then there's YouTube and all the content that they really watch on
Yeah, I know.
devices. So, how
So
do you
what
do?
happens is you're right. You're right. It's an absolutely relevant question in today's times, which I have come across many a times also in these last few months, where parents are actually coming forth and saying that, before COVID or before March, we would really restrict and our kid would only watch, say, for half an hour or not watch at all. But now with school being online, with them not getting to meet their friends, they want to interact. What can we do? So we are forced to let them sit in front of a screen for at least 3 to 4 hours a day. And then what about, recreational use or fun or YouTube, as you said? So what happens is, it's true, right? It's true. So as I said, you can't, in such times, you cannot completely ban it. You cannot completely say that no, you have to stay away from the internet, because so what can we do then? We can just learn to manage it a little better. So I think we need to keep three things in mind, especially regarding children, adolescents, that particular age group. The first is identify the purpose of the screen time. So why am I in front of the screen, or why is my child in front of the screen? So assuming that my child's classes are, say, for a maximum of 3 to 4 hours. Now I think, barring 10th and 12th standard students who may have classes all day followed by tuition classes all day or whatever, until 6th, 7th, 8th standard, I think school is not more than 4 hours, or online classes are not more than 4 hours. So assuming an upper limit of 3 to 4 hours goes in classes, unavoidable, done. Beyond that, children then are not getting to meet their friends, they're not getting to interact face to face. So possibly we need to allow them the use of technology and the internet to interact with friends, maybe virtual birthday parties or get-togethers or whatever. Okay, maybe an hour per day for that. That still leaves us with 5 hours. So 5 hours of unavoidable screen exposure. Now what we as parents need to think about is, beyond this time, what else is my child using the screen for? Is it video games? Is it social media? Is it YouTube, or is it your Netflix, Amazon, whatever? And that is the time that needs to be curtailed. So these 5 hours you can't do anything about. Fair enough. You have to accept that. But what about the rest of the time? So define the purpose for screen exposure. That's the first thing. Second is set time limits for each of this exposure. As we just did, that how many hours for school, how many hours for interaction, and how many hours then for just fun. Beyond this, what I think, which is very important and which is absolutely missing today, is that us instilling a sense of responsibility in our children and adolescents. Nowadays we give a smartphone to kids at, I don't know, maybe 14, 13, 14, 15. That is probably the age group when a child receives a smartphone. When we give the child a smartphone, do we instill in them what it means to be on the internet? What are the dangers of the internet? What are some of the do's and don'ts of the internet? I don't think most of us do that. So children need to be told that having a smartphone or access to the internet so freely is a privilege, and with that privilege comes some responsibility about how you need to use it. So following these guidelines, I think we can try and manage our time with just a few interventions, right? So most importantly, I think, as parents, and which is the most difficult step of all, is monitor our own screen time. Right? How much are we on our phones, laptops, iPads, barring, of course, work related? If it's work related, keep an open line of communication with your child. Tell them that, look, I'm on the phone because this is a work call, or I'm on the laptop because I'm currently working and I need to work for so many hours a day. But beyond that, I'm sure all. I mean, I know I am very, I wouldn't use the word addicted, but certainly, you just check it while passing by, and you just reply to one message here, one message there. So all of that accumulates to a significant amount of time. And children, it is known, learn more by seeing than by how much you tell them. Children tend to mimic their parents and mimic their elders around them. So all of us in the family, whether we're parents, grandparents, uncles, aunts, what we need to do is first monitor and try and decrease our own screen time. That is the first and most important step. Once that happens, I think, as I said, create some no screen zones, right? Again, I mentioned it previously, your meal times, your dining table, bedtime, bedroom. Make sure that, it's not even on the bedside table. It can be at least, say, a few feet away, the phone. Preferably for a child, I think the phone should be with the parents at night, so as to limit nighttime use, because that is again going to have a direct effect on sleep and other behavioral issues as well. Third would be use some parental control apps. Again, we spoke of apps for ourselves, but we can certainly use some parental control apps for children as well. Restrict the sites that they watch. What we tend to do is we just tend to forbid, right? We tend to tell the child, you can't do this, you can't watch that, you can't see this, but try telling them what you can do. So try telling them that yes, this you can watch, especially for younger children who may use their parents' phones to, say, play a particular game or watch a particular thing. So tell them that yes, this is what you can do, but these you can't. So in the same breath as forbidding them, also tell them what they are allowed to do. So that just takes away the negative from the whole message that you're giving to the child. Another important thing is you can try a family detox day. Now this could be controversial, I don't know, but everyone in the family pick one day a week, or one day a month, maybe. It could be a Sunday where you don't have to work, so you don't have the excuse that no, I need my laptop for work. On that one day, everyone in the family keep your phones away, in one place. Plan the day for all the other activities that you can do. What is happening nowadays is, for children, they have no idea what you can do if you're not sitting in front of a screen. So if I'm not watching something, then what is it that I can possibly do? So you can try reading a book with them. Now I think the restrictions are lifted, right? I mean, it's not so bad. We're not in a lockdown right now. So if you're living by the seaside or something, you can go out on the beach. That's allowed. Probably if your housing societies have a garden or a park, spend some time there. If in your locality the public parks are open, you can take your child out there for a walk, plan some gardening activities, do some creative, make some household items, or whatever, depending on what you like and what your child likes. Make that whole day, keep a whole day in a month, I feel, as a completely family detox, digital detox kind of a day, when nobody uses their phone, unless of course for emergencies, but nobody uses their phone recreationally. But you plan the whole day and plan the day, because if you don't plan anything, the child is going to be like, I'm just sitting here doing nothing, I might as well watch something. So
Right.
plan the day, plan some activities, and you will see that, you will have fun. You will actually have fun with doing things that you've forgotten to do, or that you have done when we were children and we've just forgotten to do them by now because we've gotten so caught up or entangled, to use your word, in technology, right? So these are some of the things that we can definitely do. Coming back to responsibility, I think, with children, when I was talking about teaching children, if you're giving the child a phone, some ground rules have to be set about what you're doing. So you cannot, you have to tell them that for what this phone is given to you, again, the purpose, it is so that we can communicate with you, you can communicate with us in emergencies, you can keep in touch with your friends, fine. Explain to them the dangers of the internet, the dangers of posting photos indiscriminately, sharing your personal details, your addresses. Be careful while chatting. Tell them you can be bullied, you can be trapped. So, without scaring them and in an age appropriate manner, of course, but explain to them all the possible dangers, that it's not just fun. It has a positive component to it. The internet is a lot of fun. You can learn a lot. There's certainly a lot of positive aspects to it, but make them aware of the negative aspects right from the word go. Children are naturally cautious. They are naturally a little aware, so they will not. I think they will think twice before they, follow their friends into something, if they've already been told by their parents that such and such things can lead to problems or can lead to
Right.
dangers. So briefly, these are, some of the things as far as children are concerned, children or adolescents are concerned, especially, just so we can keep them safe. Give them the internet, but keep them safe.
Right. Sure. So I think that brings us almost to the close of this session. I think it was a very informative session. Typically, especially considering the current situation of pretty much every one of us working from home, and including even our kids sort of having their classes over, various online channels. Thank you, Dr. Anagha, once again for obliging
Thank
and
you.
sharing your experiences. I think I'm
Thank you
sure
for having me.
it will really add value to all of us here. Uh,
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you once again. Yes,
Thanks. I'm happy to be here.
sure.
Bye.